I never imagined I'd end up in a situation like this after my divorce shattered everything I knew. Desperate for a radical change, I scrolled through online ads and stumbled upon this extreme reality show called Survival Without Borders. The premise was brutal yet intriguing. Two women dropped on an uninhabited tropical island with no clothes, food, tools, or contact with the outside world, all captured by hidden cameras. I applied on a whim, passed the selection, and now here I was on the deck of a boat, the wind brushing against my skin under the thin clothes I'd soon have to remove. The boat neared the island, a lush expanse of green jungle bordered by white sand and turquoise water. My partner, a younger woman with an athletic build and short hair, stood beside me, her eyes sparkling with excitement. We'd barely spoken during prep, as the rules forbade getting to know each other beforehand. The host's voice boomed over the speakers. "Strip everything off, and remember, the island is your only judge." I peeled away my dress and underwear, feeling exposed under her gaze, while she did the same with confident movements. We jumped into the warm water and swam to shore, waves lapping at our bare bodies. On the sand, we shook off the droplets, scanning our surroundings. The sun beat down relentlessly, the air thick with humidity. "Shall we get started?" she said, her voice low and slightly husky. I nodded, avoiding looking too closely at her form, and we headed inland, feet sinking into the soft earth beneath palm trees. Our first priority was shelter. We gathered palm fronds and branches, constructing a crude hut at the jungle's edge. My hands trembled with nerves as sweat beaded on my skin. She worked efficiently beside me, her muscles flexing smoothly, and I found myself stealing glances despite my efforts to focus. As evening fell swiftly, a tropical downpour soaked us through. Huddled in the hut, we shivered in the sudden chill despite the day's heat. "It's cold," she whispered. "In survival situations, people share body heat, like in the Arctic." Her words hung in the air, stirring a mix of fear and intrigue within me. The night filled with unfamiliar sounds, shrieks of tropical birds, rustling leaves, and distant roars. We lay close, her skin brushing against mine, warm and soft. I tried to shift away, but she moved nearer. "Don't be afraid. It's just for survival," she murmured, her breath warm on my ear. In the dimness, our bodies pressed together for warmth, and a subtle tension built. I could feel the curve of her hip against mine, the rise and fall of her breathing syncing with my own. Sleep came fitfully, my mind racing with thoughts of what this closeness might mean. Waking, tangled together, her leg draped over my thigh and her arm around my waist. I blushed and pulled back quickly. "Sorry," I muttered, but she smiled lazily. "No need, it's natural." The intimacy of the night lingered, making the morning air feel charged. We rose, bodies aching from the hard ground, and faced the new day. The island's isolation hit me fully now, stripping away societal norms. What had started as a quest for reboot after my divorce was already pushing boundaries I hadn't anticipated. Thirst drove us to find water next, but the memory of her touch stayed with me. As we moved through the underbrush, her presence felt both comforting and electrifying. This was no ordinary adventure. It was reshaping me from the inside out. The hut provided minimal protection, but in that shared space, inhibitions began to fade. Her suggestion of body heat wasn't just practical, it hinted at something deeper. I wondered if she felt the same spark, or if it was all in my head. The morning sun pierced through the canopy, bathing the island in a golden glow that made my skin prickle with heat. We disentangled ourselves from the hut, my body stiff from sleeping on the uneven ground. Her leg had been draped over mine when we woke, and the warmth of her touch lingered like a phantom sensation. I brushed it off, focusing on the urgent need for water. "Let's find a stream," I suggested, my voice still hoarse from sleep. She nodded, stretching her arms, her body catching the light in a way that made it hard to look away. We ventured deeper into the jungle, the air thick with the scent of damp earth and blooming flowers. The sounds of unseen creatures, chirps, rustles, and distant calls kept us alert. After some searching, we found a clear stream trickling over smooth rocks. I knelt, cupping the cool water to my lips, drinking greedily. She joined me, splashing water on her face and neck, laughing as droplets ran down her chest. Her laughter was infectious, and for a moment, I forgot our vulnerability, joining her and splashing water playfully. Refreshed, we turned our attention to food. The island offered some bounty, bananas hanging in heavy clusters, coconuts nestled high in palms. She climbed a tree with surprising agility, her muscles taut as she reached for a coconut. I caught it as she dropped it, our fingers brushing briefly, sending a jolt through me. We cracked it open, sharing the sweet water inside, our eyes meeting over the rough shell. The simple act felt intimate, charged with an unspoken connection. Back at the hut, we worked to reinforce it, weaving more palm fronds into the roof to better shield us from rain. The heat was oppressive, sweat slicking our bodies as we moved in tandem. Her arm grazed mine as we tied vines into makeshift ropes, and I felt a flush that wasn't just from the sun. She caught my glance and grinned, her eyes holding mine a moment too long. "Getting the hang of this?" she asked, her tone teasing but warm. As the sun dipped low, we decided to cool off in the ocean. We ran to the shore, kicking up sand, and dove into the waves. The water enveloped us, soothing the day's aches. Underwater, her silhouette moved gracefully, and our legs brushed as we surfaced. The contact felt deliberate, her smile suggesting she didn't mind. We floated close, the waves rocking us gently, our shoulders occasionally touching. Back on the beach, we sat on the warm sand, eating the bananas we'd gathered. The sky turned shades of pink and orange, casting a soft glow over her skin. "You're beautiful," she said suddenly, her voice steady. My breath caught. After years of feeling invisible in my marriage, her words hit deep. I looked away, unsure how to respond, but my pulse raced. As night fell, we returned to the hut, the air cooling rapidly. We lay down, closer than the night before, her body pressed against mine for warmth. Her hand rested on my back, tracing slow, soothing circles. "Tell me about you," she whispered, her breath warm against my shoulder. I spoke of my divorce, the betrayal, the need to rediscover myself. Her fingers never stopped moving, grounding me. She shared her own story, her life of seeking freedom, living without constraints. "I came here to feel alive, no masks," she said softly. Her face was close, her lips inches from mine. Something inside me gave way, and I leaned in, kissing her tentatively. She responded with hunger, her lips soft yet insistent, her tongue exploring mine. The kiss deepened, our hands roaming over bare skin, cautious but curious. Her fingers grazed my sides, sending shivers through me despite the warmth. We didn't go further, but the air was thick with desire. Her thigh pressed against mine as we settled to sleep, and I felt her heartbeat, steady and strong, lulling me into dreams. Lying there, I realized the island was stripping away more than clothes. It was unraveling my inhibitions. Her closeness wasn't just survival. It was awakening something I'd buried long ago. The jungle's hum surrounded us, but all I could focus on was her breath, her touch, her presence beside me. The third day dawned with a sense of urgency, my stomach growling from the meager fruits we'd subsisted on. We needed protein to keep our strength up. She suggested hunting for crabs along the shore or edible insects in the underbrush. I agreed, though the idea made me uneasy, but survival demanded adaptation. We set out early, the morning mist clinging to our skin as we moved through the jungle. Deeper in the foliage, she showed me how to flip rocks and logs to find grubs. Her movements were precise, her body bending gracefully as she demonstrated. I tried to mimic her, our hands brushing in the dirt, and a spark of distraction flickered through me. Despite the task, her proximity made focusing difficult, her sweat glistened skin drawing my eyes. We managed to collect a handful of insects and headed to the beach for crabs. The tide pools teemed with them, scuttling away as we approached. She lunged quickly, pinning one with a stick, her laughter triumphant. I caught one too, the thrill of success mixing with the warmth of her praise. We carried our haul back, feeling a small victory in this wild place. Exploring further, we stumbled upon a small cave etched into a rocky outcrop, offering better protection than our hut. The entrance was narrow, but inside it was cool and dry, with space enough for us both. We decided to relocate, gathering our few belongings and palm fronds to line the floor. The echo inside amplified every sound, making our voices seem intimate even in whispers. Settling in, she pulled me close, her eyes darkening with intent. "Let's pick up where we left off last night," she murmured, her hand trailing down my arm. I didn't resist, leaning into her kiss, which grew heated quickly. Her lips moved to my neck, teeth grazing lightly, sending shivers across my bare skin. Her hands explored lower, cupping my breasts, thumbs circling my nipples until they hardened. I gasped, arching into her touch, the sensation building like a wave. She whispered encouragements, her voice husky, guiding my responses. The cave's walls seemed to close in, focusing all on us. I reciprocated, my fingers tracing her curves, slipping between her thighs to find her already wet. She moaned softly, her hips shifting toward me. We moved in rhythm, exploring each other's bodies with growing confidence. The air filled with our breaths and quiet sounds of pleasure. Her fingers entered me slowly, curling just right, drawing out waves of sensation. I clutched at her, my nails digging into her back as tension coiled tighter. Release came suddenly, my body shuddering against hers in the dim light. She held me through it, her own need evident in her quickened breathing. Once I recovered, I turned my attention to her, kissing down her body. My lips found her center, tongue tasting her essence tentatively at first, then bolder. She threaded fingers in my hair, guiding me, her moans echoing off the stone. Her climax built fast, her thighs trembling around me as she cried out. We lay entwined afterward, bodies slick and sated, the cave a cocoon of intimacy. But the island didn't allow full respite. Distant thunder rumbled, signaling an approaching storm. We braced ourselves, pulling fronds over the entrance as rain began to pour. The storm raged outside, wind howling through the trees, but inside we found solace in each other. Her arms wrapped around me, our bodies pressing close against the chill. We whispered reassurances, our touches turning from comfort to desire once more. The night blurred into a haze of connection, the fury outside mirroring our passion. By morning, the skies cleared, but the experience had deepened our bond. The cave felt like our sanctuary now, a place where vulnerabilities were shared. I realized this journey was about more than survival. It was rewriting my sense of self through her. The fourth day brought a renewed energy after the storm's passing, the air crisp and the ground muddy underfoot. We decided to explore more of the island, hoping to discover better food sources or hidden spots. She led the way through denser jungle paths, her strides confident as vines brushed against our legs. I followed closely, admiring how her body navigated the terrain with ease. The exploration felt like an adventure, but her presence turned it into something more personal. Narrow trails forced us to walk single file, but occasionally our hands would touch as we pushed aside foliage. The humidity made our skin slick, and every accidental brush sent a subtle thrill through me. We talked sparingly, conserving energy, but her occasional glances back held a knowing smile. It was as if the island itself was conspiring to keep us close. Deeper in, we heard the rush of water and emerged at a stunning waterfall cascading into a clear pool below. The sight was breathtaking, mist rising where the water met rock. "Perfect for a swim," she said, her eyes lighting up with mischief. We stripped off the few leaves we'd used as makeshift coverings and plunged in, the cool water shocking our heated bodies. Under the waterfall, the force of the stream pounded our shoulders, invigorating and loud. She pulled me close amid the spray, her wet skin sliding against mine. Our kiss started fierce, water streaming down our faces as hands roamed freely. The roar drowned out everything but our breaths and touches. Her back against a smooth rock, I pressed into her, fingers tracing down her stomach to between her thighs. She gasped, the sound lost in the cascade, her hips bucking toward me. I knelt slightly, water flowing over us as my tongue explored her, tasting salt and freshness. Her fingers gripped my hair, urging me on until her body tensed and released in shudders. She returned the favor, switching positions so I leaned against the stone. Her mouth was insistent, lips and tongue working in harmony with the water's rhythm. Sensations built rapidly, the cool flow contrasting with her warmth, leading to a climax that left me weak-kneed. We clung together afterward, laughing breathlessly in the mist. Back at the cave, we prepared our catch from the pool, small fish we'd speared with sharpened sticks. The fire crackled as we cooked them, the smell mouth-watering after days of fruits. Eating together, cross-legged on the ground, our knees touching, felt like a ritual. She shared stories of her past adventures, her voice low and engaging. As night approached, she leaned in, her hand on my thigh. "You've never done this before?" she asked gently, referring to our intimacies. I shook my head and she smiled. "Let me show you more." We moved to the softer fronds, her guiding me with patience and passion. She positioned herself on her back, pulling me atop her face. Her tongue delved deep as I rocked gently, the sensation overwhelming and new. I gripped the cave wall for support, moans echoing as pleasure crested. Switching, I mirrored her, my mouth on her, learning from her responses until she arched in ecstasy. Later, I noticed red welts on my arms from brushing against irritant plants during our trek. She examined them closely, her touch tender. "I know a remedy," she said, crushing nearby leaves into a paste. Applying it carefully, her fingers massaged the areas, easing the sting. The treatment evolved into something sensual, her hands lingering on unaffected skin. Despite the mild pain, desire flared again. We made love slowly, her body careful around my irritations, focusing on gentle caresses and deep kisses. The night ended with us entwined, the paste's coolness mingling with our heat, forging another layer of connection. The fifth day greeted us with a gnawing hunger that fruit and small catches could no longer satisfy. Our bodies felt weaker, the energy from last night's fish fading fast. We needed something substantial, so we decided to try fishing in deeper waters with makeshift spears. I felt the weight of survival pressing harder now, the island's demands relentless. She looked at me with determination, her eyes sharp despite the fatigue etched into her features. "We've got this," she said, squeezing my hand briefly before we headed to the shore. Crafting spears from sturdy branches was tedious, but her focus steadied me. We sharpened the tips with stones, our hands brushing as we worked side by side. The heat of the morning sun made sweat bead on our skin, and I caught myself watching the way her muscles moved under it. She noticed, flashing a playful smirk that made my cheeks flush. The task grounded us, but the undercurrent of attraction never faded. At the beach, we waded into the shallows, the ocean cool against our legs. The water was clear enough to spot fish darting among the coral. She moved with precision, her spear poised, while I struggled to mimic her grace. After several misses, she guided my arm, her body close behind mine, her breath warm on my neck. Her touch was steadying, and when I finally speared a fish, her cheer felt like a shared triumph. Back at the cave, we roasted our catch over a fire, the smoky aroma making my stomach rumble. Eating felt like a celebration, our fingers greasy as we shared the meal. Sitting close, our thighs pressed together, the simple act of eating became intimate, her occasional glances stirring warmth in my chest. We laughed over small things, the sound echoing softly in our stone shelter. As evening settled, a strange noise broke the calm, a low, guttural sound from the jungle. My heart raced, memories of my divorce flooding back, the loneliness, the betrayal, the fear of being alone. I froze, my breath shallow, until she slid closer, her arm around me. "We're together in this," she whispered, her voice a lifeline pulling me back. Her hand rested on my cheek, grounding me in the present. The fear lingered, but her presence pushed it back. We kissed, urgent and deep, as if to banish the darkness outside. Her hands roamed my body, igniting a fire that drowned out my panic. She guided my hands to her, encouraging me to explore, and I did, fingers tracing her curves until she moaned softly. The cave amplified every sound, making our connection feel vast. She slid her fingers inside me, slow at first, then faster, matching the rhythm of my quickening breaths. I clung to her, nails digging into her shoulders as waves of pleasure overtook me. My cries mingled with hers as I reciprocated, my touch bolder now, driven by a need to anchor us both. The intensity of it felt like defiance against the island's threats. Afterward, we lay tangled, her body warm against mine. She kissed my forehead, her lips lingering as she murmured reassurances. The fear hadn't vanished, but it was bearable with her beside me. We explored further, switching positions in the dim light, her guiding me to straddle her thigh, the friction building until we both shattered again. The night stretched on, our bodies finding new ways to connect. I kissed down her spine, my hands gripping her hips as she arched back, her gasps filling the space. Each touch felt like a reclaiming of strength, a way to rewrite the insecurities that had haunted me. The island was testing us, but it was also binding us tighter. By morning, the jungle was quiet again, but I felt different, stronger, more certain. Her hand in mine as we rose felt like a promise. The hunger and fear were real, but so was this connection, raw and undeniable, reshaping me in ways I hadn't expected. The 6th day began with a jolt. A distant siren wailed from the sea, piercing the jungle's morning hum. It was the signal we'd been told to expect. The show was ending, and a boat was coming to retrieve us. My heart sank at the thought of leaving this wild place, but a thrill of anticipation mixed with it. What had we become here? She stirred beside me, her body still pressed against mine from the night, her warmth a stark contrast to the cool cave air. "Time to go," she said softly, her eyes searching mine for something unspoken. The final challenge was to cross the island to the extraction point on the far shore. We gathered our meager belongings, a few woven vines, a sharpened stick, and the remnants of last night's fish. My body ached from days of exertion, but her steady presence gave me strength. We set out through the dense jungle, the path overgrown with roots and vines that snagged at our bare feet. Every step felt like a countdown, the island's hold on us loosening. The trek was grueling, the sun climbing high and turning the air into a thick, humid blanket. Sweat dripped down my back, and I noticed how it glistened on her shoulders, her muscles flexing as she pushed through the underbrush. We moved in sync, helping each other over fallen logs, our hands lingering longer than necessary. Her touch, even in passing, sent a pulse of warmth through me, a reminder of what we'd shared. Halfway through, we paused in a clearing shaded by towering palms. The air was still, the only sound our heavy breathing and the distant crash of waves. She turned to me, her gaze intense, and stepped closer. "Don't forget this," she whispered, pulling me into a kiss that was all heat and urgency. Her lips were soft but demanding, tasting of salt and the island's rawness. We sank to the ground, the earth soft beneath us, leaves cushioning our bodies. Her hands roamed my skin, tracing paths we'd explored before, but with a new desperation, as if sealing a memory. I straddled her, our hips grinding together, skin slick with sweat. The friction between us built quickly, our breaths hitching in unison. My fingers found her center, moving with a rhythm we'd perfected, and her moans vibrated through me. She guided my head lower, and I kissed down her body, lingering at her thighs before tasting her deeply. Her hips bucked, her hands tangled in my hair, urging me on. The jungle seemed to hold its breath as she shuddered beneath me, her climax pulling me into my own. We collapsed together, panting, the forest canopy above us a kaleidoscope of green and gold. The moment lingered, but the siren's echo reminded us of time slipping away. We rose, brushing dirt from our skin, and continued the trek. Her hand grazed mine as we walked, a silent promise that this wasn't the end. The jungle thinned as we neared the shore, the sound of waves growing louder, pulling us toward reality. At the beach, the boat waited, its crew tossing us simple tunics to cover ourselves. The fabric felt foreign against my skin, a reminder of the world we were returning to. We climbed aboard, sitting close, our thighs touching on the narrow bench. I glanced at her, catching the same mix of reluctance and resolve in her eyes. As the island shrank behind us, I felt its weight still in my bones, the freedom, the fear, the passion. We'd stripped away more than clothes. We'd shed inhibitions, fears, and old wounds. I reached for her hand, and she squeezed back, her fingers warm and sure. The boat hummed toward the mainland, but my mind was still on the island. This wasn't just a show. It had rewritten me. With her beside me, I knew we'd find a way to carry this connection forward, beyond the jungle, into whatever came next.